think I'm spooky.
Be afraid. Be very afraid. What have you done to his eyes?
Good evening and welcome to Soft and Spooky. For today's video, we are going to be looking at the August horror release, Weapons. The premise of this film is that all but one child from the same class of children disappear on the same night at the same time. And I don't know about you, but it just reminds me of those like one sentence horror stories where you sense this horror and dread, but it's just vague enough that you're left wanting more. And I'll admit, I was instantly interested. If you've never seen one of my movie reviews before, basically in the first half, it's going to be spoiler free. So if you were still interested in possibly seeing the movie, you can get my thoughts without having anything spoiled for you. And then the second half will be filled with spoilers. So I kind of go a little bit more in depth in my thoughts and include the ending and stuff. So with that being said, let's go ahead and sink our teeth in. Also, check out the new setup, everyone. I rearranged it in a reel on my Instagram. Not to brag, it got 12 likes. I'm really happy with the way everything's sitting, and I think it looks super cute. Weapons was written and directed by Zach Cregger, who you may know from writing and directing Barbarian, as well as he was a creator on The Whitest Kids You Know, which is like such a throwback. This film stars Julia Garner, who you may recognize from Ozark. She was also in that more recent Wolfman remake, and personally, I remember her from this show called Dirty John. It starred Eric Bana, Connie Britton, and I think she was the daughter that stabbed John. So, spoiler. Weapons also stars Josh Brolin, who I've actually covered on this channel before in my Planet Terror video.
How'd you treat it?
Please go check that video out. It is genuinely one of my favorite movies that I've covered on the channel. And the only thing, just don't watch it while you're eating. It's pretty gross. I think that the atmosphere that they created in this film was very believable to me. It takes place in a small town in Pennsylvania. PA, baby. Oh, oh, oh.
Pennsylvania.
I think this definitely gave that small town PA vibe, and I also thought it was interesting. There are a lot of scenes that transcend into people's dreams or hallucinations, and even the scenes that were conscious, like this was normal life, felt odd or off in a way, and it kind of lended itself to feeling like, whoa, what's going on here? I feel like under a spell. Another thing that was super cool to stumble upon is I found a couple reels where they showed behind the scenes filming, and there is this tracking shot of Julia Garner's character, Justine, and she is running through a convenience store. And you see how they achieved that shot was actually somebody on rollerblades. Like, that's so bitchin'. I don't know. I love creative uses of camera work, and I thought it was really cool. Another aspect of the cinematography that I really enjoyed was what you see in the trailer when all of the children are leaving their houses at 2:17 a.m. And it's filmed through like the Ring cameras, those kind of security cameras that everybody has outside. And it very much felt reminiscent of the home videos that you see in the movie Sinister. And it just has that graininess, and at least in the trailer, it was quiet, and I felt like that was very eerie to watch. The only thing is that in the actual film, there's kind of like an upbeat sounding song. I know that the lyrics and the title fit more with the tone that they're trying to go for, but the song itself sounded very upbeat, and it felt very like dissonant. I don't know, it was interesting, but I definitely really enjoyed that film style. I think that the story for Weapons was definitely very refreshing to me, and I enjoyed that they used non-linear storytelling. I know that sometimes can be divisive, it can get a little messy, but I thought that it was really interesting. They used the method of basically showing the same day or same few days and showing it from different characters' perspectives. And I think that it really works in certain aspects. Like, I mean, I've seen it in Pulp Fiction, and I've even seen The Simpsons do an episode like that. And I just think it's really fun. It's a fun way of storytelling. especially when it is well executed and you see that kind of trickle effect that one character's day and actions throughout that day can affect this entire storyline. I don't know. I thought it was really fun. Honestly, I think that everyone that was attached to this film, you could tell that they very much were invested in it. And I think that certain characters were very well developed. I loved Josh Brolin's character Archer, who is the father of one of the kids that goes missing, as well as I think it's a teenager, he's supposed to be a teenager, but this delinquent teenager named James, who is played by Austin Abrams. I just think that their motivations were so clear, and I really found them interesting to watch on the screen. Without giving anything away, I think that the best part of the film for me were the moments that I didn't have everything figured out. I think that the mystery of it all was what was so captivating, especially from the trailer. I mean, what's going on here? What happened to these children? And I thought that they did a great job hooking me in. But once everything was realized and you kind of understand what's going on, I felt like I was kind of left wanting a little bit more. I don't think that the pacing was bad. Like, I don't think it was abrupt of an ending, but I just kind of felt like once we got the climax or we figured out what the mystery was, it kind of just left me expecting more from it or expecting more to develop from that realization. I think I would recommend seeing it still. I don't regret watching it, especially in the theaters. It was a really great experience. There was somebody that smelled so good next to me. I knew it. I recognized the scent. It was Juniper Breeze from Bath & Body Works. It's a discontinued scent, but it's a very distinct smell, and it smelled very good. So I was having a great time. But yeah, I really enjoyed the imagery. I think that some of it kind of sticks with you. There were a couple creepy shots that I thought were very effective. And I also felt like all of the cast were so invested. And I think that always translates well onto the screen. So those are my spoiler-free thoughts on Weapons. I wouldn't say that I love it as much as Zach Cregger's previous work, Barbarian, but I do think that it's a solid addition to the 2025 horror lineup. All right, so we are ready to get into the spoilers in 3, 2, 1, spoilers. So the film opens up with a narrator that you kind of assume to be one of the children that also goes to the school, and it closes the same way with a narration. We don't see who the girl is that was narrating it, nor do we ever have her tied into what happened, like in the story. And I just kind of felt like it was a little disjointed. I felt like it would have been better if it were Alex, the child that was the only one that didn't disappear, or if it was just one of our main characters. I don't know. I kind of felt like I didn't understand why it was just some random kid at the school. And that's not to say that I am against narration in media. Some of my favorite works, like Shawshank Redemption and Haunting of Bly Manor, they use narration, and I think that it's very effective in kind of creating this vibe of you're listening to a story that someone's telling or a folk tale, and I think that it can be very applicable. I just kind of felt like in Weapons, I don't know that it was necessary. I think that it kind of at the end just wrapped everything up with stuff that we genuinely could have seen on film, and I think it would have been more effective. Also, there is something that I have to nitpick about the narration, and feel free to disprove me in the comments if I'm missing something, but in the beginning, it says, I'll kind of shorten it, but last night at 2:17 a.m., every child woke up, got out of bed, opened the front door, walked into the dark, and they never came back. But they did come back. The kids return home at the end of the film, and yes, they're in a catatonic state, but even the narration at the end says that some of them after a few years started talking. So, I mean, even if you're just meaning mentally, they are coming back too, because after a couple years, a couple started talking. So I don't know what I'm missing here, but I'm very confused. And it's like used on the promotional material too. And I'm just, they did come back. I don't get it. Also, little fun fact, the number 217, that actually was the original evil bad room number in Stephen King's The Shining. And I don't know if that's a little nod, but see what you did there. Winky. Winky blinky. So initially when I was watching Weapons, I had the theory that since there was one child, Alex, he was the only one that didn't disappear. I thought that he was the one orchestrating this, like he was some sort of devil child. And I also thought, like, when he's walking through the school, I think I saw my stomach's growling. I saw a banner that had blue devils on it. And he wears primarily a blue sweatshirt and he had a blue backpack. So I was like, ooh, we're getting a little clue. But nope, I was way off.
Samsonite. I was way off.
So what really happened to all these kids, you might be wondering? It's a witch. Alex has this supposed great Aunt Gladys that comes to stay with them, and she is all sick and old and gross, and she's basically on her way out. And she's coming there to kind of restore her health. In doing so, she's actually feeding off of the life essence, life essence of Alex's parents. But when that return of investment is less than desirable, she decides to up the ante and have Alex basically sacrifice all of his classmates. Gladys is portrayed by Amy Madigan, who I instantly clocked as the love interest from Uncle Buck. I love that movie.
May I see your driver's license, ma'am? Yeah. Okay. Can I please take it out of there? Take it out!
I wouldn't say that she's looking good here, because, but it was just so refreshing to recognize her voice and see her again, because I haven't seen her in something in so long. And she does that perfect, like, tight-mouthed, icy stare, and she was just phenomenal. Throughout the film, you see how she demonstrates her power. So basically, she takes a branch from this magical tree that she has, and she wraps an item from the intended party that she wants to either harm or control, and then she pricks her finger on it, rubs some blood, and then snaps it to have the spell take action. And I felt like that was a really believable method. Personally, when I was angry at someone or wanted to harm them, I would just hide my family's toothbrushes around the house so they couldn't brush their teeth. But, different strokes for different folks. But seriously, I do think that this is like a very believable method, and especially when it comes back into play at the end of the film, where Alex has seen Gladys do this process multiple times and he's able to replicate it. And I just felt like it was very congruent with the story that they created, where, this is a child, but he can follow those instructions after seeing them so many times. And I loved it. Throughout the film, I did have a few issues though. Like, number one, when Gladys comes to the parents, she's looking all gross and old, and she's supposed to be feeding off of the life force of the parents. When that doesn't work, she starts feeding off the children. And I'm expecting, after she gets life force from children, which is supposed to be like the most pure, I thought she'd like turn around and be like that one cut scene from Banjo-Kazooie where like the witch lady gets all hot. I thought it would be like that, but she kind of looked about the same. So I just kind of felt like if the kids aren't doing that much for her, like what is really going to give her full vitality? I don't know. Secondly, I really wish that the film hadn't tipped its hand so early, because I was enjoying it. I was very confused and interested, like what is going on? Where did these kids go? And you see that Archer, one of the parents, paints on Justine, the teacher's car, the word witch. And up until that point, I wasn't thinking witch. I was kind of just letting the story unfold. And I felt like it put that in my mind that, oh, it's a witch. Yeah, it's probably a witch. And, I I'm disappointed. Like, yes, I love like witches in film. I think that's such a cool concept, but I don't know that that would be super believable. Like, of all the things in real life, I would first assume like, oh my gosh, it's some sort of like human trafficking thing, or I don't know. My mind wouldn't instantly go to like, that's a witch. I don't know. Although, if history proves anything, I guess that is kind of plausible. Last issue I had was basically when the parents go under the spell of Gladys and they stop coming into work. I'm surprised that not more people were checking on them. Like, I know that in the movie, Gladys, I think, mentioned that either the father had an illness or suffered a stroke, but I'm just surprised that it was that easy. This random person that they had never met, and nobody goes to physically check on them. One aspect I do appreciate of that situation is that once Gladys is there, you see this immediate, intense shift of the energy in the house. Before Gladys comes, you see that the parents have a really good dynamic with Alex. It's a very loving household. And then once Gladys is there, the house is dark and it's quiet, and you feel this heavy oppressiveness knowing that the parents are under this witch's spell. And I kind of got this parallel to the dynamic of when a child has a parent that suffers from substance abuse. And the writer-director Zach Cregger actually cites his own childhood where the child becomes the caregiver in that situation. He says, this foreign substance comes in and it changes everyone's behavior. The house becomes a scary place. You go to school and act like everything's cool, and then you come home and you hide from a zombie parent. That felt so real to me. I think that it was a really interesting way to represent a situation that Zach Cregger actually dealt with in his own childhood. I also find that, at least with Barbarian as well as Weapons, I think that Zach Cregger finds a really good balance of comedy and horror. There's a scene where Alex uses Gladys's magic against her and follows the same process that she went through to control people, and he controls the kids to go after her. So these kids are chasing after her, and she ends up going through people's houses, and all of these kids are crashing through, demolishing these other people's houses in the neighborhood. And it's just, I think what made it so funny is that you got to see the aftermath. So Justine follows up, or it might have been, no, I think it's Archer, follows after them. And you just see these families that are like, what happened? Like, are you okay? And they're just like upset about all the property damage. And I felt like that, I don't know. I know it's not for everybody having comedy and horror together, but I think it's great. Additionally, there's such a good moment with Josh Brolin's character, Archer. He has this dream while he's sleeping in his son's bed after he's disappeared. And it's just weird, and you see like a rifle over top of this house with like a clock superimposed for 2:17 a.m. And then you get this jump scare of Gladys looking all gross. And he wakes up and has just the best delivery of this line.
What the fuck?
Some of the humor was not even verbally said. Like, I just think, which is so crazy, it's like blurred out in all of these clips that you find because of copyright. But Marcus, the principal, that when he's going after Justine and he's all possessed and like gross looking, he is wearing a Mickey Mouse shirt. And it just looks so funny, like this kind of juxtaposition between a wholesome character and then like this zombie essentially coming after her. And I think that even visual comedy like that is just, it was great to see. Also, huge fan of Benedict Wong in this movie. He plays the principal Marcus, and there is this scene where he is coming at Justine, and it feels so out of pocket. Like, it's not what you would expect at all. So in the scene, Archer is berating Justine while she's pumping her gas, and you see this tension building between them. But then something catches her eye off to the side, and she looks very bewildered and confused. And as the audience member, you're just like, oh my gosh, what do you see? What's happening? And then out of nowhere, Marcus, the Benedict Wong's character, comes up and starts choking her. And it totally sidelines you. That scene was so effective for me. And it also, because you don't know his story yet, you haven't seen his perspective of his day, you're so interested in what is going on. Also, speaking of the violence, I do think that the gore was pretty great in this film. There's a portion where Justine uses like a peeler on the cop's face, and oddly enough, it like didn't, I'm about to say something weird. It didn't look gross. It kind of just like maybe want an apple or something. I don't know. Also, I love at the end, Gladys, all of these kids catch up to Gladys and they just like pry her jaw open and rip her apart. And it's just, oh my gosh, it's so good. I think it looked really realistic and good. I thought it was great. Oddly enough, I think the moment that actually made me squeamish, I'm a little wimp about needles. My dad is too. Shouts out, Dad. Thank you for that. There is a section where a cop is patting down James, this delinquent kind of drug dealer teen, and he's patting him down and he asks the standard question, do you have anything in your pockets that'll poke me? And James says no. He reaches in and he gets stabbed by needles and I go, ew! I don't know, something about, I can't do needles. It's awful. I think the biggest disappointment for me would probably be the ending, which, such a bummer. So in the end, all of the kids are returned to their families and you kind of get a semi-happy ending because the narrator tells you that some of the children, after a couple years, start to speak. So it kind of gives you the hope that, okay, things might return back to normal. But for Alex, his life just remains to be a straight up tragedy. His parents are fully catatonic and they end up going to live somewhere else because they need to be fed and all that stuff. And what the hell?
What the hell?
Give him a happy ending too, at least, because his parents that he loves so much, they end up, he never gets to reconnect with them again. And then also, he's witnessed all of the horrors, like his parents stabbing themselves with forks repeatedly under the spell of Gladys. And it's just like, this poor kid. Like, if you want to go bleak and scorched earth, go bleak. I don't care. That's fine too. You could have everyone remain catatonic, and at the end of the film, the screen goes black and you hear the snap of the twig and it indicates that maybe it's not really over. I don't know. But the fact that some people kind of get a semi-happy ending, and then Alex, that's so sad. I don't know. My dog's snoring. I don't know if you can hear it. But yeah, those are basically my thoughts on Weapons. Despite some of my issues with the film, I definitely don't regret seeing it, and I would love to know some of your thoughts in the comments below. Would I recommend seeing this film? Hell yeah, I would. If anything, just to support the writer-director Zach Cregger. He seems incredibly personable and very excited to make film, which is something that I love to see in horror. We need more of that. If you have a chance, definitely give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. It really helps a small channel like mine. And while you're there, if you haven't subscribed already, please consider doing so. I am so close to hitting 1,000 subscribers, and I would love for you all to stick around. So with that, I will see you all in the next video. Don't forget to stay soft and spooky.